Hey all you lovely kings, queens, and in-betweens, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Elaine, and today I have the entire FuRyu Bloo-me Quintessential Quintuplets collection. This is essentially a floral collection of Quintessential Quintuplets figures that came out recently, and I needed to get all of them because they're really cute. And now I want to open them all with you guys and show them off a little and provide some thoughts. I'm going to open these figures in no particular order. It's just kind of whatever I reach for first. So each girl gets their time to shine. So the first of the girls we're going to be opening today is Yotsuba. And like all of the other boxes, it doesn't have a window inside. It just has a picture of what we're going to be getting on the box itself. So you can see the full figure here, some more details. Again, the full figure, a close-up. And then they have the name of the line on top with a cute little floral design. Since Yotsuba's favorite color appears to be green, they have chosen a green motif for this one, which I think will be really nice. Green is also my favorite color. So without any further ado, we'll just get this open. It looks like this figure more or less comes fully assembled. It's in two pieces. We have the flower base, and then we have Yotsuba here, and it looks like we're just going to get her seated after we unwrap her. And now we have the two pieces of our figure, the flower base and Yotsuba herself. The flower base is kind of angled so she can sit nicer and it's exposed. You can see the petals when she's sitting there. There is a little peg, which I wasn't anticipating for her to sit on, which will keep her situated. In terms of color, it's a sort of lovely green, very light color. It reminds me a little bit of a faded succulent. It has kind of the same shape as a succulent in terms of the petals, and it feels like a sort of brushed plastic. It's a little strange in terms of texture, but I think it's nice overall. It's pretty flower. It's basically a daisy, but the petals, for whatever reason, make me think of a succulent. Yotsuba herself is happy to see us. Her bow is defying gravity, and this, I feel like, very much represents Yotsuba. She's always high energy. She's always happy. She's very athletic, and I think this really works. I feel like her dress, though, is a little strange to me. It makes me think of cabbage leaves for some reason, or if you took a bunch of bow tie pasta and just kind of stuck them together and make a dress. That's kind of what this is serving to me right here. Her hair is a very vibrant, fiery orange. It looks kind of unnatural, and it doesn't really seem to go in line with the paler tones of the rest of the figure, but it really makes it pop, so I kind of like that. They basically kept her bow the same, although they made the ends a little pointier than they might normally be, so it would go in line with the dress. So I do like that overall. I think shape-wise it's really nice. I want to see how easy it is to get it into the peg now and then provide my final thoughts. While I wouldn't describe her as hard to get into her final position, I don't think she's particularly stable. I feel like I couldn't really push it in as much as I should have been able to, and the bow's position makes it a little hard to just get into place, but I've dealt with worse. I think overall it's pretty stable on the table. It's just that she isn't as stable as I might want her to be. But in terms of pose, I like how it suggests movement. It kind of looks like she's riding down a roller coaster that happens to be a flower, and she's just excited and happy, and I like that she has all of that high energy and that happiness. I think it really brightens up the space, and like I said, I really like the green. I kind of wish her dress wasn't such a pale color, but overall I think it works really well with the flower base, and everything that's going on is really nice. They did an okay articulation with her hair. You could see it more toward the bottom, but the top kind of just looks like a blob, and I wish they had done a little more with that so it didn't seem quite so blobbish. But all in all, this is a pretty good figure. I like that they added a little bit of yellow just to also highlight the color of her hair and give another little pop of color. Now I'm going to put Yotsuba aside for a second and open the next figure. Now I'm going to open Ichika. So we've unboxed our girl, and it looks like the flower is basically the same that Yotsuba is sitting on, but there isn't a peg for Ichika to get put into. So she is going to be posed on the flower, which is how I assumed all of these figures would be made. I have a sort of love-hate relationship because I can seat them however I want, but they also have a tendency to slip and fall and kind of look a little awkward because there's nothing to keep them in place. In terms of how she's looking, I think they, again, really captured Ichika's character. I think she's arguably the most flirtatious sister, and there's something about this pose that seems a little flirtatious to me. Like all the other dresses, it has a sort of flower motif. Like these long sections look like a divided skirt or some sort of flower. The thing I don't really like about her is her color is clearly supposed to be yellow, but this is a mix of a sort of sickly green with a more natural leafy green with a little bit of white kind of pearly aesthetic at the top. So I'm not super fond of that color choice. However, I do think they did a good job capturing her likeness. I think her hair color is very nice. I like the little flower piece she has in her hair. I think they did a great job dividing the strands so you can see the individual strands of her hair. And then they also added a little floral detail here, like some sort of band it almost looks like. I don't know if it's an actual band or just something funky they did with her hair to give it a sort of leafy floral thing. But it looks really cool. The only thing I'm not super fond of is her posture is a little like hunched, which I feel like isn't as appealing as if she was a little straighter. And she almost looks like, you know, she's like dipping her hands onto a piano as opposed to just kind of resting them on her knees. They're kind of hovering over her knees, and I wish they were on top of the knees as opposed to hovering. She was a little straighter, so it would be a little more like naturally flirtatious as opposed to like getting into a flirtatious position, if that makes sense. Now, she is pretty easy to get into place. She's just gonna balance here, sort of. She kind of leans naturally into a spot if you don't mix it. So again, you kind of see a little bit of that instability that you get with figures that just kind of poise themselves on top of whatever their base is. Overall, I like it. I just don't think it's as strong a composition as Yotsuba, which kind of makes me sad because I prefer Ichika as a character. I just don't think they really stayed true to her colors or really did her justice with like the dress. I mean, it has some nice details, but the colors are off. And again, the pose overall, it's kind of getting there, but it's not quite as good as it could be. And the fact that she has to perch and isn't one that will just stay in place kind of bothers me too. Like I said, see, that's why. Dangerous. But she kind of, if you get her directly in the central yellow bit of the flower, she stays a little better. So there she is, definitely leaning toward Yotsuba right now, but overall, I think still two strong figures. Next up, I've decided to open Itsuki. Itsuki brings the peg error back. We can see that here in the very center of this flower, which again looks like the two other that came previously, but, you know, red, and, you know, the very obvious white peg in the back. I think she has one of the nicer dresses. It looks like very elegant formal wear on the top, but then droops into petals or falls into petals, whatever you'd prefer. It has a nice yellow band, which I think highlights the red very well. It gives this like kind of fiery edge that really appeals to me. I think they captured her hair really nicely. I like how it flows. I think they did a great job with the color and the little flower details in her hair. The one thing I do not like is this pose. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, it's been a minute, but I don't remember her ever striking a pose like this. I feel like this is also not something that women would do, and it looks really peculiar to me. I think it might have been nice if maybe she was trying to tuck some hair behind her ear or something. I think something like that would look a lot more natural than this looks. But overall, I like what they did with her attire. Aesthetically, I like how she looks. I just don't like how she is posed. Now I'm going to get her put into place and provide some final thoughts. Since she didn't have a bow in the way, I think she was a little easier to get into place than Yotsuba was. And I think that she also kind of looks like she's sliding down like a water slide or going down a roller coaster to an extent. Not as excitedly as her sister, but there's a sort of movement betrayed by how she's sitting or suggested by how she's sitting that really appeals to me. I'm noticing more now that I'm looking at her again that there are these pink highlights at the end of her dress, like behind some of the petals. So they're two-toned for the most part, and you can also see it kind of if you look up under the skirt a little bit. I think it's a nice detail. I like the highlight. I like that it kind of softens the color when everything here is so bright. I think that was a good choice so it's not so overwhelming, although I like the fire aesthetic. I think that, like I was saying, the shape of her dress is very nice. I like how it's flowing. I like how her hair is moving. And overall, it's a very nice composition other than whatever is going on with her arms. I really do not like what happened with her arms. Next up, we have Nino, whose box is a little worse for wear, but I'm assuming everything's going to be fine inside and it's going to be a great addition to this collection of figures. Without any further ado, I'm going to open this box up. So this is going to be another figure that just kind of perches in place, which again, I like and dislike. The flower is now purple. It's a very, very, very pale purple. It's kind of got a sort of glassy quality like all of these other ones, but I feel like it's a little more noticeable with this color for whatever reason than the others. Nino here has a really nice petal dress. I think it's the one where the flower aesthetic is the most apparent, not only in the roses in her hair along with the little bows that tuck underneath, they're yellow, but just the shape of the dress overall. It's very nicely fitted. It's got a bit of a kind of formal military dress wear thing going on in the middle with the black accents and the gold buttons. It makes me think a lot of Fire Emblem Three Houses, the outfits that the characters wore there. It makes me think of Bernie a lot because, you know, purple hair, I guess. She's also the only one, interestingly enough, so far it's possible that Miku will have it as well, that had extra protection on the legs, probably because they're crossed. It had another section of bubble wrap here. In terms of how she's posed, I'm a fan. I think it also, like all of the others for the most part who've come before, really suggests what she's like as a person. It's a little bit flirtatious, but how she's holding the hair, it's almost like she's like flipping it or brushing it back, which you can kind of make out here if you look really closely with her hand position, suggests who she is. She is someone who is arguably the most into herself and her appearance. She's the vainest, I would argue, of all of her sisters. And I think that's something that's very clear here. I like that they went with the second haircut, or rather the haircut that happened, not with the long hair. I think it looks nice with the shoulderless dress. And I think overall, this dress is the best constructed and designed. It works very well with her figure. And I think it's very clear, not that it isn't necessarily with the others, that this is a flower aesthetic. So now I'm just going to pose her here. I think she's a little easier to pose than her sister because the hand kind of braces it a little, so that's a nice detail. And her feet also, I think, are more level with the table or whatever surface you would happen to lay this on, which is helping to keep her in place. So I do like that. I think she looks great, but I'm not going to lie to you, Miko's my favorite, and she's the one I saved for last. So she might get knocked out of her first place spot in terms of design. So Miku is finally here on the table. I'm really excited. She's my favorite character. I like her design. I like her personality. I think she had the best relationship with our main guy, but stuff, no spoilers. I'm going to now open this without any further ado. Okay, our girl is finally out of the box, and I am very happy with what I'm seeing so far, but I've noticed a few things. So the base is essentially the same as all of the others. It doesn't have a peg spot. It's, you know, something she's just going to be seated on. It has that sort of brushed plastic feel to it, but there's also a little bit of texture there, which I really didn't get from the others, and I'm not sure why that would be the case. In terms of how she looks, I think her pose, the fact that her hair is in her face suggests her shy nature, and that's something I like. I think that they chose a color that worked really well with her. I think they captured her hair very nicely. There is a little smudge on her head, which I'm not super fond of. But overall, aesthetically, I think she looks the way she's supposed to. They captured her as a character in this figure. What I don't like is the fact that I feel like this figure, out of all of the ones here, really didn't meet the theme the way the others did. Yes, we have the flower here, and yes, there's some flower details here, but the floral theme isn't readily apparent, okay? Yeah, we have one in her hair too. I forgot to mention that before. Sorry, guys. But all the other ones, you could see the floral stuff very clearly. You look at them, flower dress, cabbage leaf dress, but technically still a plant, floral dress. And with this one, it's kind of like casual dress on top and then like beach cover up on the bottom, just kind of smushed together. Like, I feel like we kind of missed the mark a little bit when it came to designing her dress. I feel like something a little different would have been better. I mean, okay, they, you know, made the hem kind of petal shaped vaguely, but it's not the same as the others. It doesn't make me feel like it's really part of the collection the way that the others are. So I would have liked to see a different design. I think she should pose pretty well on the flower. even though her fingers are kind of oddly splayed here, that looks a little unnatural. I'm hoping that she will be braced in place because they are there. Ooh, oh no. Okay, we just had to put her really far down. All right, so she kind of sits there. She wobbles. Her hand does not lay flat on either side. It's kind of maybe a fingertip and then kind of hand hovering, which looks a little weird. But in terms of how she looks, I mean, overall, it's an okay show. There is the blemish on top of her head. I like the hair piece. I like the color. I think it works well with her since she's always shown wearing blue, especially with her headphones. But again, this figure stands out to me when I compare it to the others. It doesn't have like that in-your-face floral motif, and that bothers me. In terms of how I feel about the collection overall, I think it's strong. I think Yotsuba stands out a little more than her other sisters just because of just the shape of her dress. Like, you get that leafy motif, whereas the other ones you don't really get that as much. Ichika stands out because she's more green than yellow and her base flower is yellow, and I find that a little weird. But overall, as a collection, I think it's a very strong collection. I think all of the characters look the way they're supposed to. I think the way they're posed suggests their character, and I like that about them. I just feel like I wish there were some minor tweaks to make this collection a little stronger. Again, with Miku's dress, for example, and just like the way Ichika's outfit and flower is colored, I think it stood out as weird to me. But overall, I'm very happy with these figures. I like the fact that they're affordable, they're easy to put together, they're easy to pose. The boxes are really small if you need to keep them for, future storage travel purposes. And I'm happy with what I purchased. And there you have it. My review and unboxing of the FuRyu Bloo-me Quintessential Quintuplets collection. That is a mouthful. What did you think of my review and unboxing? Did I inspire you to go pick up these figures? Were you thinking about them and you're on the fence and now you know what you want to do? Are these figures you hadn't even heard of until today? Let me know down below in the comments. I always like to know what you kings, queens, and in-betweens think. And if you like what you saw here today, please smash that like button until it's blue, subscribe, ring that bell so you always know what's up. I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye, guys.